Hey, what's up everybody, Nexel here. Today we are playing Kingdom Hearts Union Cross, and I'm going to show you the two setups that I use in order to defeat the Corridor of Darkness Stage 5. This is the new Heartless event. It just started, I believe, yesterday, and if you complete this stage without having to continue, then you're going to get one power gem, you're going to get a title, which is New Breed, and then a Huey, Dewey, and Louie. So the two setups I used, one is just a setup where you just straight run through the enemy when you're just very, very strong. You don't have to think about it, with very few things that you actually have to pay attention to. The second one is a strictly defensive setup, which is mainly to prolong how many turns you can get and defeat the enemies. Because again, the goal is to complete without having to continue, so you can take an infinite number of turns in order to complete the mission. So this is the setup that I use. Again, this setup is really just to ram the enemy, take them over, and not have to really think too much. So this is the setup real quick. I know extra attack doesn't display at the top. For some reason, it doesn't always like go up. Like even if I tap it, sometimes it just forgets it. Yeah, so I'll go ahead and just show you the medals one by one and talk about what's relevant with them. So Supernova Kingdom Hearts 3 Kairi, the relevant things are, obviously, she's almost a perfect buffer. She's going to get Second Chance 4 and Extra Attack, which I know is not something everyone has, but if you have it, you can use it here. Another thing, actually, it's sort of relevant, so the next medal is Supernova Kingdom Hearts 3 Maleficent. Remember that one enemy, I forget what it's called, but it's one of the floating enemies. It's the magic type enemy. It absorbs magic damage. So it was important for me that this be a single target medal, because then I could just specifically target the Eliminator, which is that red defender, and then deal damage to that without having to worry about the blue enemy being able to absorb my attacks. So this medal, it has ground enemy defense minus 60% as well as extra attack. I know that that's like kind of a hard setup to duplicate, but I'm just showing you. Maybe it'll give you some ideas. The third medal is Kingdom Hearts 3 Monster Sora. This is going to have attack boost 8 max gauge 1, and then the only relevant trait is that ground enemy defense minus 60%. The next medal is Kingdom Hearts 3 Master Xehanort. It is going to have attack boost 8 max gauge 2, and it's going to have strength plus 2,500 as well as ground enemy defense minus 60%. This is where it stops mattering if it's single target, because none of the enemies absorb power attacks, and they also don't reflect power attacks. So it's not a big deal that this is hitting everything. Next medal is going to be a Kingdom Hearts 3 Axel or Lee, which is going to have just crazy traits, strength plus 6,000 as well as ground enemy defense minus 60%. This is pretty much just a medal to copy the next one, which is going to be the Youth in White. The Youth in White in this case is not being used defensively. It's because it's an area of effect, or it's like an attacks everything. And it's got ground enemy defense minus 60, aerial enemy defense minus 60, as well as extra attack 40% and strength plus 2,500. Again, the goal for this medal is to be doing damage. It hits for power, so nothing is absorbing it or blocking it, reflecting it. So if you have like HD Terra, that would be a pretty solid candidate to use here. If you have the Youth in Black, that's a pretty solid candidate to use here. What you're really looking for is something that's very, very strong. It's a power medal that hits everything. So that's what I was going for when I used the Youth in White. Its multiplier isn't super broken, so that's, again, it's not being used defensively. Alright, so let's go ahead and I'll show you what I did in order to just take out the enemies within 3 turns. So let's go here. I borrowed my free-to-play accounts, Kingdom Hearts 3 Youth in Black. Again, sort of broken traits, strength plus 3,500 and aerial and ground. But again, this is for damage dealing. The main purpose of this blade is to just deal as much damage as humanly possible without having to prolong how long this takes. So first things first, we're going to activate our Kairis in order to get our buffs going. Next thing, we are going to attack with one of our medals. You're going to want to pick one that gives you plus 250% special attack bonus, because that's going to make your attacks do more. So in this case, we're going to use Monster Sora. It's a single target supernova attack, and we're going to use its attack on the Eliminator. And then, again, these are single target medals. We are going to single out that Eliminator as the thing we're doing damage to. Both of these medals have ground, so I know it's kind of an unfair comparison, but bear with me. It's just, again, to show you that it's doable. So all my medals are now doing an additional 250% special attack bonus, and we're just going to truck along, just deal more damage. And we should be able to clear these guys out at least the 2 in the back by the early part of turn 3 or the later part of turn 2. So we'll activate our Kyries. In this case, we are going to activate our Youth in White, because as much as possible, you're going to want to avoid activating the plus 250% special attack bonus supernovas that hit for speed or hit for magic. Oh, geez, that was a mistake. Alright, well, as you saw there, the speed enemy absorbed the damage, so now we're going to have just a little bit more trouble, because we're going to have to deal with all the damage we just healed from it, or healed to it. So, again, the main point was to get that plus 250% special attack bonus. Let's go ahead and just truck along and deal our damage. Feeling kind of salty that that happened that way, but it's not a big deal. Again, we're just damage dealing. Alright, so we're going to eat this. Last turn, we're going to activate our Kyrie. Activate the Youth in White. And then we're just going to, I think at this point we just let it play. We just let it roll, and this should take care of all the enemies. And if it doesn't, we've got like supernovas loaded on deck. Alright, there you go. So you can just power through this one. It's not as hard as the Genie Jafar one, because that one you had to like play a very defensive strategy. Very specific metals were needed, very specific traits were needed. You only had 5 turns. But if you play this one defensively, you have actually sort of an infinite number of turns until the Eliminator gets like a critical hit on you, and that actually just takes you out. Alright, so let's go to our Olympia and then talk about this setup. So this is the setup we use. The main purpose of this setup is to raise our defensive buffs and buy ourselves as much time as we possibly can, buy ourselves as many turns as we can, in order for our 2 damage dealing medals to wipe out, or I'm sorry, 3 damage dealing medals to wipe out the enemy. So let's go ahead and talk about the medal setup and why it works. So the first thing is going to be Kingdom Hearts 3 Yenzo. There's no skill on this, but if you have Defense Boost 5 Max, that would be really helpful. But don't use Defense Boost 5 Max on this if you don't need to. Like, this is probably not the best medal to give DB5 Max to, but if you already have it, you can use it here. So the main thing about this medal is that it gives plus 15 general defense, and that's going to make it a lot easier for you to survive. We're going to set it before the Kyrie, because the Kyrie is going to restore the gauges that the Yenzo uses. So it uses 5 gauges inherently without any sort of special attack or gauges skill to reduce the cost. So the Kyrie is going to restore that. Again, it's not actually important that this one has extra attack. That's not why this is important. You can have a Kingdom Hearts 3 Kyrie with DB5 Max, and that would be just as good. The only problem being that this Kyrie restores 20 gauges, but again, down the line, that doesn't really matter. The reason that Xion is here is because she's got DB5 Max. She is going to be my medal with DB5 Max, but it doesn't matter that she's here. You can replace her with a damage dealing medal if either the Kyrie or the Yenzo came with DB5 Max. But at the very least, between those 3, the main thing is that I have a second chance and a DB5 Max. So those are important. The Terra is here strictly to do damage. That is all he is doing in the setup. So is the Lee, just to deal damage, but he also copies the Youth in White. And the Youth in White is important in the setup. And again, it has extra attack, so that's unfair. But you can borrow a friend's Youth in White. So the Youth in White is important because it raises your PSM defense by 10. Having it with extra attack brings that up to the maximum of plus 15 PSM defense. And then it also, if we can get to it, decreases the target's PSM strength by 5. Now this is really important because not a lot of medals in the game entirely have the ability to decrease PSM strength. So we have this with extra attack, bringing it down to minus 10 PSM defense. And then you have the Lee that's copying it, bringing us to minus 15 PSM strength. I'm sorry, I think I said PSM defense, but I meant to say PSM strength on the enemy. So minus 15 is really, really good. And then we are wrapping it up with the Youth in White. I'm sorry, the Youth in Black. And again, the point here is to deal damage. So you're going to want to pick a red medal with good traits that deals damage. So let's go ahead and just play it out. So essentially, this setup kind of just plays itself out. So we're going to do the same thing we did before. We're going to activate the defense. Now we're at 15 defense. We are going to activate our Kyrie. And then we are going to use one of our supernovas in order to bring ourselves at plus 250%. The big thing here is that you have to be able to take out those two guys in the back relatively soonish because you don't want to keep getting hit. Like, getting hit with multiple enemies is going to decrease your chances of surviving. So let's go ahead and just do this here. So by this point in our Keyblade, the enemy has -8 general strength, -15 PSM strength, and then we have +15 defense and +15 PSM defense, which is like the highest it gets in this game right now, pretty much. Because I don't know, I mean, there are other metals, I guess, that could lower the strength of the enemy, but no one's really playing like Vexen Plus anymore. So let's go ahead and just ignore that for now, and let's go ahead and just keep trucking along. So we're going to activate another one that gives plus 250% special attack bonus, and just keep trucking along here. Again, you might need to have a Supernova Kingdom Hearts 3 Lee on your pet slot, copying a Youth in White with extra attack from your shared friends list. So we'll do that, we'll do this, and this, and we'll activate our Kingdom Hearts 3 Lee. Now, I know I said it's restoring the enemy in the back, but the main thing is that you have to take out those two enemies. Otherwise, your survivability goes down really drastically. So let's hope this takes it out. This should take it out right here. Yeah, this, actually, let's not gamble it. We don't like to gamble. So let's take it out, and there we go. So we should be able to survive this, or at least I've survived it before. Yeah, so we survived it. So let me actually move my camera real quick. So we survived it pretty decently. We have 3,529 HP left. So it is turtleable with the right setup. And then from this point on, we just attack. We just attack. The only problem is that sometimes that Eliminator gets a critical hit on you, and that's just going to take you out. Like, it's just no questions asked. The damage it deals is just going to be too strong. But it is turtleable. Just know that it is possible. If you can borrow a friend's medal with the Youth in White, then you're good. Then you're set. I really wondered if we were just going to get knocked out there. Alright, so at this point, we just play it out, and there you go. There you go. Perfect defensive setup that is able to take it out. The only real incredible things are the fact that we had the Youth in White, and remember that you have to somehow manage to take out those two guys in the back before the end of turn 3, because odds are if they're still around, they're hitting you, and you're going to have to use up your HP recovery as well as your second chance in order to survive those turns. So you have to be able to take out those guys in the back within 3 turns in order to play defensively with the Eliminator. Alright, well, that's just to show that it is possible. Hopefully this gives you some ideas on how to beat it. This one isn't going to be super easy for everyone. I know I made it seem like it's like, just do this. But, I mean, these medals were like Supernova Plus. Some of them had extra attack. Some of them had aerial, ground traits. So, I know it's not super duplicatable. But hopefully it gives you some ideas on how to take out this event. So, with that being said, if there are any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to drop them down in the comments below. And I'd be happy to answer when I have the time. But as always, everyone, until next time, take it easy.